The following is a Spirit Street production.
It is Friday, ladies and gentlemen, Big 12 Insiders talking about the games that are going on. We do have one game on Friday. The rest are on Saturday. Let's talk about some of these betting lines and who you like, which some of the best bets are. We got my man Ryan Gilbert today to discuss all of this and more. This is the Big 12 Insiders.
Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show, presented by Synergy Financial Partners. Now let's go to booming North Texas, home of Studio 73. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Big 12 Insiders. Again, this is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Today, we've got guest Ryan Gilbert. Ryan, how is it going today, my man?
Big B, it's going well. It's always good to talk to you. Always good to talk some sports betting. So I'm happy to be here, man.
Absolutely. We appreciate you giving us your time today. So, we'll get right into it. Look, last week, I don't think it was that big of a weekend for as far as sports lines and sports betting. Wasn't a lot of good games. There'll be a little bit more this week, and I think the lines actually a little bit more intriguing as we're going to go over, which ones we think are the best as far as over, under, or just the spread based on each game. There's 3 games that don't have a line, so obviously we're not going to cover those. But let's just get into it, man. So first things first, Friday, BYU goes to SMU. I will be in attendance because it's right down the road, about 30 minutes down the road from where I live. This is a tough one for BYU. I mean, it's plus 11.5. I think that's a little heavy. It's a little heavy-handed. Over under at 55.5. I kind of lean towards the over under and taking actually the over on this one, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you mentioned it. Maybe it's a little heavy, but that line is there for a reason. And after week 1, I would have probably have leaned towards BYU. But after what happened last weekend, SMU had a nice bounce back spot after an iffy performance against Nevada in week 1. But you go back to last week, or I guess week 0, I'm sorry. You go back to last week, though. Nevada goes out and beats Troy, so that iffy performance doesn't look as bad. SMU's 2-0. I'm going to have to go with the home team here. Certainly don't love it, but I think SMU is probably the more proven, stable program right now, and they've got obviously something to prove with their situation. They want to stay relevant, so I'm going to have to go with the home team, SMU.
Gotcha. Yeah, the 11.5 scares me a little bit. It just scares me a little bit, but I understand. You're right. It is there for a reason. Moving to Saturday. So Arkansas and Oklahoma State. Look, Arkansas scored 1,000,000 points week 1. I mean, they just basically, it looked like they were trying to run the score up. I don't think anything like that is going to be happening. Oklahoma State at home, minus 8.5, 62.5 for the over under. Which one do you like there, Ryan?
I like over. I think there's going to be, obviously, you're not going to see Arkansas put up 70 points again like it did last weekend. Right. But, I think there's going to be a lot of points here. I think Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy is going to be smart enough to understand that you're probably not going to just win this game by feeding Ollie Gordon. That's probably going to be true for the entirety of the Big 12 season. I think that's a great way to operate your offense, but opponents are going to start to hone in on that. And so you're going to have to air it out. Alan Bowman is going to have to get comfortable. That's going to open up more scoring opportunities. And obviously Arkansas showed that it can score in week 1. So I do like the over, but also I like Oklahoma State here. Again, I'm going to have to go with the home team. Week 1, some Big 12 teams looked iffy. I think Oklahoma State, especially given the quality of that opponent, right? Oklahoma State was certainly one of the more impressive teams. Could it have been better? Yeah, certainly could have been better for Oklahoma State, but that's a team that, we've seen it here, Big B. If Oklahoma State can get good quarterback play, that's, that program over recent years has, they can be scary. And so, I'm not saying Alan Bowman has to go out and be the superstar of the game, but, last week in week 1, Ollie Gordon had 3 rushing touchdowns, and right. Bowman kind of supported that, aided that with 2 passing touchdowns and no picks. And so I think that's kind of the formula there. You obviously have a heck of an athlete in Gordon, but he can't do everything on his own. So if Gordon can get some help with the rest of his offense, the offensive line probably could have been a little bit better. Gordon's yards per rush wasn't the best in week 1, certainly below his standards, but I think if the offense can kind of work together, work around each other, and not just rely on Gordon, Bowman can give some help there. I think Oklahoma State can certainly win this one by more than a touchdown, more than a couple touchdowns, and obviously that would favor to the over as well. So I'm going to give you both the over and Oklahoma State.
I like it. The thing about last week with Oklahoma State is I think they were pretty vanilla in their run stuff because their offensive line is pretty good, and they return everybody back from that offensive line. So I think they will open up the offense a little bit more this week. Arkansas is not scoring 70 points. The over, I don't know, 62.5. It doesn't seem like a lot, but I would lean. I like Oklahoma State to win this one, and I like the -8.5. I think they win by at least 10 points in this one. So next up, we got Kansas State at Tulane. Tricky game. Kansas State showed absolutely nothing week one on offense. Just about as vanilla, middle school level as you could get on offense. And they won the game handily. Tulane scored a ton of points. So we're going to see exactly what this is. -10 for Kansas State on the road. Sometimes could be tricky. Over under 47.5. Now, K-State's got a really good defense. Does that number seem low, or does it seem about right? I think I'm leaning towards the over here, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm not an expert by any means on over-unders, but just for a Kansas State game, unless you're playing like Iowa or something, that just seems very low. In a game that's going to matter, and K-State's going to pull out its entire playbook. In week one, like you mentioned, didn't see that in Manhattan, but so it just seems like a low number. If Kansas State wants to prove to people that its offense can be a potent, lethal threat in the Big 12, Kansas State and Tulane can certainly combine for that many points. But Kansas State playing on the road, I know the weather, I don't know, it changes. It might rain, but it's going to be hot no matter what. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. Yeah. I think from, we're recording this until kickoff, it's going to be rainy. So the humidity is going to be crazy. So that's something that K-State's probably going to have to adjust more to than Tulane. That's naturally that climate. They're going to be used to that. So playing on the road, the weather, I've still got some question marks, Big B. I know we've both talked about this. I've got still some question marks, especially just on offense. Avery Johnson didn't sell me that he is everything he said to be. The wideouts from top to bottom, that room didn't sell me that they're going to be difference makers in 2024. And so I'm not saying that they won't be. I'm not saying K-State's going to be bad or going to struggle here, but defensively, the running backs, all those boxes were checked in those regards. But K-State still has some things I need to see before I can feel comfortable with them winning by double digits on the road. And so I know that Tulane's head coach was not happy with the way his team performed. And you look at the box score, you're thinking that's crazy. Tulane, just dominated Southeast Louisiana. But if you really, I guess, look into it, the way through his lens could have been a lot better. And so they're going to, Tulane's going to come out with a chip on its shoulder, home field advantage there. I'm not calling the upset by any means, but I think this game's going to be in the single digits for Tulane to cover.
Yeah, one of the thing is that Tulane, this is back-to-back years they've gotten a Power 4 team to come to them in the non-conference. Last year, it was Ole Miss. This year, it's Kansas State. They didn't get the game was close last year towards the end, but didn't get the win. They're going to be fired up to win. I just like the over here, 47.5. I like Kansas State to win the game. I'm not sure about the cover. And again, do they even have to? But at the same time, I just like 47.5 here. Next up, Pitt at Cincinnati. Look, I don't think either one of these teams are very good. But I'll just say Cincinnati, we're Big 12 homer. I'll give them, it's -2.5. So I'll take Cincinnati. I don't like the over. I know it's a lot of points. I mean, that's a lot of points, I think. And they could get there, but just give me the -2.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Big B, I know you had Cincinnati ranked last in last week's rankings for the Big 12 Insiders, and now you have them at 15, right? You're right. Trying to keep the Cincinnati fans off your shoulders, right? So let's keep them happy, and I'll agree with you. Let's pick Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's basic one. Look, next one, I like this game. Baylor at Utah. And the reason I think Utah's going to win this football game. I like the odds here. -14 gets touchy, but then over under 54.5. I like the 54.5. I like the over on the 54.5 on this one, Ryan. Look, it's not so much that I think that Baylor's going to score a ton of points. I think Utah can. I think Baylor will put up some points, but 54.5, I'm going over with this one.
Yeah, that's where I was I mean, it's tricky. Baylor's defense, you look at the efficiency numbers there. Baylor, I think, can certainly do some things to maybe slow down Utah's offense. But yeah, you mentioned that Utah's offense can certainly go out there and put up a bunch of points and do a lot on their own to cater to getting that over. But I think I'll keep this one simple. I'm going to go with the spread. Utah by a couple touchdowns. They're just, I don't want to say head and shoulders above Baylor, but they're certainly in the top tier in the Big 12. Baylor's a few notches down. And so I just think Utah's just got enough firepower to win this game by a couple scores at least. So Utah minus 14 for me.
Got it. Last one before we take our first break here. Iowa State at Iowa. I mean, look, we had our game day yesterday. I was all over Iowa State. I wanted them to win. Alec Busey, who covers Iowa State, basically told me every reason that Iowa State was not, every reason that I said they were going to win, he said that was the exact opposite on why Iowa State was not going to win. +3, 35.5 on the over-under. You know what, Ryan? I'm going under. Going dag nabbit. I'm going under. I'm sticking there. You're going to have to make me a believer. Make me a believer that Iowa's offense has changed. I don't think that it has. I'm going under on this one.
Yeah, I think Iowa State was 24 total points. I know it's week 1. You're not trying to show everything, but Iowa State, they're also kind of playing like that to start off the season. And so, I mean, it's like the Ravens and the Steelers, man. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a low-scoring game every year, right? And so until you can see otherwise, I'm betting the under. 4 of the last 5 unders. 4 of the last 5 times they've played, I've gone under. And so, yeah, it's just, I know it's such a low number. I get that totally, but it's there for a reason. It's that low for a reason. So give me the under, Big B. I'm with you.
Absolutely. We're going to take our first break here. We'll be back on the other side to break down the rest of these games and the betting odds of the Big 12 this weekend. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right, welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Again, this is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley, along with Ryan Gilbert. We are breaking down all the Big 12 games, the over-under, and the point spread for each game this weekend. Ryan, look, next, there's 3 games that we're not doing. And the first one that popped up here, Albany at West Virginia, there's no line, so no reason to even talk about that. Sam Houston at UCF, I was surprised that this one had a line, I'll be honest with you. -22 for UCF, over under at 57.5. Can get dicey on this one. Which one do you like?
UCF here. There's no reason shouldn't be able to cover, given that opponent, all that. And so, you look at, last weekend, there were many Big 12 teams with probably similar opponents up in the 30s for their spread. So 22 is low relative to that. So there's no reason UCF shouldn't cover.
Yeah, I like that one too. The over-under, I guess, is the one that was kind of dicey, and I was like, I don't know, but 22, they should be able to cover that. UCF may cover that as fast as they play on offense. They might have that middle of the second quarter, so who knows? Next up, Kansas at Illinois. I think the spread on this one is a little bit low, Ryan. Look, I'm high on KU this year. I am. And I know there's a lot of people with trepidations out there about Jalen Daniels staying healthy, but he is healthy right now. He's playing. So -6, I think this one's low. I'm taking KU on this one all day. Over under 55.5. That might not be a bad one either.
Yep, I'm with you, man. KU gotta ride with the Big 12 here once again. Illinois, I think they're gonna have to have some things kind of go right. For them. KU secondary is going to be a big test compared to what it saw in week 1. The Illini threw for 4 touchdowns. KU's definitely going to, I think, challenge that team. And, like I mentioned that, the turnovers here, Illinois is putting a big emphasis on that coming into the year. They came up with those plays in week 1. But I just think if you're Illinois, you need too many things to kind of go right, go your way to pull off the upset at home. And keep in mind, Big B, these 2 teams met last year. The line was set at 3 in favor of Kansas, and the Jayhawks won by double digits, won by 11. And so I kind of see the same thing happening here. Not enough respect for for Kansas.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this line is low. Again, the guys in Vegas and whoever set the line, they know what they're doing. Don't get me wrong. I just think sometimes they're not perfect. And I think this one they may have missed on.
Yeah, and Illinois
Big
is going to be
showcase.
a sellout, so keep that in mind. It's not going to be an easy place to play.
No.
But everything I just said, I'm still going KU.
Absolutely. Big showcase game for Big 12 this weekend. The next one, Colorado at Nebraska. Line moved a little. It's at 7.5 now for or plus 7.5. Colorado over under 58.5 as of right now. I don't know. I'm going to make you choose first. Who do you like in this one?
I kind of just touched on the turnovers and stuff with Illinois, but I kind of view it the opposite with Nebraska. As long as the Cornhuskers can just play some smart football, top to bottom, man, Nebraska's got a much better roster, position by position, all that stuff. There's a reason they're favored by a whole touchdown here. So, Colorado's got the playmakers at the very top, they're top heavy, I guess you could say, but Nebraska is much more steady here. So if Nebraska can just, take care of the football, last year Nebraska was dead last among power teams in terms of turnover margin. And so play smart. I know they had a fumble in week 1, but play smart, don't shoot yourself in the foot. And I know that feels like we've done this a lot. I at least have fallen into it where, I buy into the Nebraska hype early on. How many non-conference games has Nebraska lost over the last 10 years? It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But so I guess I may be a little cautiously optimistic, but I just, unless Nebraska goes out and has a fluky game, they're just the better team straight up. And so giving Nebraska with the points.
See, and here's where I differentiate from you a little bit here is I like Colorado. I think Nebraska is going to win the game. I just think Colorado's offense will keep pushing, even if they're down 10 points late, 2 touchdowns late. I think they'll score a late touchdown to cut the margin down. I think Nebraska wins the game, but I'm going to take Colorado plus the points. I think something like that is going to happen. Look, they're talented. Colorado, for their faults, they still have very, very talented skill position players. And if they can figure out and get so much better from week 1 to week 2, that's where you see a lot of big jumps with teams, especially offensive lines. If they can gel a little bit, they can cause some problems. Like I said, I like Nebraska to win, but I like Colorado to cover. So give me Colorado plus 7.5. Next up, Houston at Oklahoma. It's Houston plus 29.5. The over-under on this is 49. I think I'll take the over at 49 because Houston can't possibly be as bad as what they were last week. Or maybe they can. I don't know. But if they are, then Oklahoma's going to score more than 49 points. That's the one thing. So it's one or the other. Either Houston's a little bit better and they can score because Oklahoma's still going to score, or Houston is that bad and Oklahoma's going to score 60. One or the other. Either way, yeah. I like OU. Give me the over 49 on this one.
Yeah, I like what you think, right? OU can get that all on its own, but if not, if it's a competitive game, Houston scores 20 points, over sitting no matter what then. So I like that. You might talk me into that, but I still have until I can – I guess I'm not going to say hammer Oklahoma, but until you can see something different from Houston, I would not feel comfortable putting my money on that team after what we saw in week 1. So maybe it's a bounce back spot. You can't play worse than you did in week 1 if you're Houston, but until you see a change, bet the over, bet Oklahoma. I wouldn't touch Houston though.
Yeah. I like that philosophy. If Houston's really that bad, OU's going to blow them out and they'll score 100 points on them. But if not, if it's a little bit more competitive, even if it's a 2 or 3 touchdown game, you can still hit the over. So that's why I like the over. And again, a little low, 49. I don't know. But we'll see. Look, the next 2, there's no lines on Long Island, TCU, Northern Arizona. So no lines there. Texas Tech at Washington State. Look, outside of Houston, in West Virginia played a really good opponent. But outside of Houston, I think Texas Tech had the second worst game of anybody in the Big 12. I've said it all week. They probably should have lost the game. if Abilene Christian's quarterback just had a little bit more patience and would have taken a step left versus stepping up in the pocket. He had a guy wide open in the end zone. They could have won the football game. Having said that, big challenge going to Washington State. Plus 1.5. I think I like the Cougars in this one, though, man. I mean, I can't see I can't unsee what I should say from last week with Texas Tech. It's plus 1.5 Texas Tech. I think I like Washington State minus the points.
Yeah, for our PowerCat pregame podcast, I went with Tech against the spread. It's interesting. You look at both teams really in week one had very similar performances. Offensively, good. You can take some good things to we saw good things from Tech offensively. Certainly, same thing for Washington State. It was on defense where it was just atrocious. It was awful. Right. And so I think Texas Tech here, you're coming off of a bowl victory from last season, 2 consecutive bowl victory seasons at that. But you're coming off of that, and that happens in week one. I just don't know how that program, how Joey McGuire, that team is going to perform like that again. I think it's a nice bounce back spot for Tech. Maybe a wake up call. I know you guys have talked about Willie Fritz, right, with Houston, maybe the way they were practicing, preparing. Okay, go out and play that way, and we'll get beat, and now you'll start listening to me, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe that's what happened with Tech. I don't know. I like it as a bounce back spot, though. I just don't see that being the standard what we saw in week one from Tech, especially on defense. But if I have the option for over under, man, I know you told me to just pick one of the other Big B, but I'm sorry, I'm a rule breaker, right? Both teams offensively awesome, defensively garbage in week one. I know that over under 65.5 is a lot of points, but it's that way for a reason. I'll take the over.
Yeah, the 65.5 actually looks better than the spread on this one. I'm going to go with Washington State. Here's the reason why. Is because I think Washington State just has a chip on their shoulder. We talked about this in game day, is that they've been disrespected. Those kids know why. They're not kind of left by themselves. They are by themselves, and they know why. And this is an opportunity to try to prove people wrong, and maybe it's the biggest marquee game that they're going to have. Who knows? But they get Tech in their place. They're honoring Mike Leach. Now, granted, he coached at both schools, but the game is going to be in Pullman, Washington. We'll see what the weather is like there. I definitely like the over 65.5, but I'm going to stick with give me Washington State minus 1.5. And then last but not least, Mississippi State at Arizona State. First off, the game, I think kickoff is going to be like 105 degrees or something like that. And a lot of people, have come and said, well, come on, Big B, it's super humid in Mississippi. And it is. I'm not saying that it is or that it isn't, but it's not 100. It's not 105, not this time. It's different, man. It's just different. So we'll see exactly what happens. Arizona State, 6.5-point favorite right now. Over under is 59.5. Who do you like with this one, Gilbert?
Man, if you would have told me, before looking at the schedules for the season, Arizona State would be, nearly a touchdown favorite over an SEC opponent, I would have thought you were crazy. But that kind of speaks to maybe where Mississippi State's at right now. I know defensively, Bulldogs can create some challenges, but I like Arizona State at home again, like I talked about kind of with Tulane. That weather, that heat, I know you get that in Mississippi, sure, but I'll take the home team here. Offensively, Arizona State played well. Defensively, maybe need to see a little bit more, but the Sun Devils, I believe they had a pick 6, I think, in week one, but still a little iffy on that side of the ball. But overall, I do think that this line, I've said this a lot, the line is kind of where it is for a reason. So I'll take Arizona State.
I think I'm going to take the over on the 59.5. I think I'm going to go that route. We saw a lot of good things offensively from Arizona State last week. Wyoming's not as good as what they were a year ago, lost a lot. But I think Mississippi State's also going to come in there and put up some points. Look, Blake Shapen, former Baylor quarterback, pretty good football player. I think Mississippi State, they're going to have some guys on their football team. It's a step up. I mean, it's an SEC team for a reason. They're going to have some dudes out there. I just think these teams are going to go up and down the field a little bit and put some points up. I don't like the spread. I think Arizona State will win. I'm not sure they cover, but I'm going to take the over on this. Give me the over at 59.5. So that's the slate for us for the Big 12 today, man, or this weekend. I appreciate everybody taking the time out to help support Big 12 Insiders as always. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. We appreciate you, Gills. Thanks for giving us your time today, my man.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Love talking to you.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Hey, just as a reminder, we'll be live on Saturday morning. If you get tired of ESPN and Fox and you want to come here and talk some Big 12 football for an hour leading up to kickoff on Saturday, make sure you tune in. Big 12 Insiders, Big B.O.B. here. I'll holler at you guys later.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.